YouTube.
Hey, Gina.
Hey, howdy.
And going live on Facebook. And we are live on Facebook. Hey everybody, I'm Paul Lathrop. I am the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. You've stumbled across the Armed Society podcast. If you happen to be watching us live, we're going to be getting started in just a minute. If you want to comment on anything we talk about tonight, go ahead and comment on social media. We'll get your comment put up on air. We'll discuss it. Rob's going to be kind of running the show a little bit tonight, but I think, guys, and lady, I think we're ready on my end to kick everything into recording mode and get a show laid down. Anything else we need to talk about before we record this?
I hope everybody just covers me when I start to go into the black hole.
Well, you know, Rob, there's one thing that should set your mind at ease. I love to talk, and Dan, I think, is pretty much comfortable talking, and I know Gina likes to talk, so I think we're okay.
Which should be good, I think so. I got a couple of topics, and I'm sure that'll spur someone else to talk on something also. Sure.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kick us to the splash screen and start recording in 5, 4, 3. That didn't work. Now I need to come over here and do this manually. 5, 4, 3. There we go. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 8, I believe it is, of the Armed Society podcast. I'm Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. This is a new show on the Self-Defense Radio Network, and this is just a 1-hour discussion and different people every week to give you different flavors of what's going on around the network. I'm going to start with the gentleman on my right if you're watching us live. Rob, if I could, I'm going to have you introduce yourself, let everybody know who you are, what you do, and then I'm going to have you pass it on to the next person, which after you would be Dan.
Okay, my name is Rob Campbell. I'm part of the Eye on the Target radio crew with my sister Amanda. We talk about guns every Sunday on, I guess it's syndicated radio. So you can catch us at eyeonthetarget.com. Okay, Dan.
Hey, everybody. My name is Dan Wos. I'm the author of the Good Gun, Bad Guy book series, host of Good Gun, Bad Guy Radio, co-host of the Loaded Mic podcast, and lately been a spokesperson for Gun Owners of America. We do a lot of PSAs and videos for them. And just a Second Amendment advocate, your roaming Second Amendment advocate on the street.
All right, and that leaves the young lady just below me, if you're watching on the screen, Gina. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Gina Roberts. I live in San Diego, California area, so I live in the depths of 2A hypocrisy. I'm a hardcore Second Amendment advocate. I've been working on it since as long as I can remember. I started competitively shooting in high school, and I've been continuing that nasty, expensive habit for about 53 years now. I'm the state director for the DC Project California, and I'm a representative of the DC Project in Washington, DC, working with Diana Mueller and Amanda Sethpool.
All righty. Well, Rob, I'm going to turn it over to you while I get the social media commentary set up on the tech. What do you want to talk about, dude?
Well, I like what Gina says. It was a nasty, expensive habit. It's getting more expensive by the day too. It seems like we have 2.5 million new gun owners. They say every month since like March. thinking that how many of these are going to be temporary gun owners and how many are going to permanently be part of the 2A community. And I was hoping that we could talk a little bit about the possibility that maybe shooting ranges in the future are going to be the golf courses or the bowling alleys of the 50s and 60s that everybody used to go on Friday night, hang out and do something. Or remember some of the old sporting clubs? I don't know if you, my grandfather was a Isaac Walton League member years ago, and they would have get-togethers and stuff. We're seeing more and more of the ladies groups getting together doing things. I just wonder if that's going to be I guess all-inclusive, and everybody's going to start being more gun-minded.
Well, I hope.
Well, Rob, you mentioned, somebody mentioned the gun sales going up. This past summer, I just wanted to make a note. The gun sales doubled, tripled, and quadrupled in different areas across the country, and 40% of those were new, first-time gun owners, which is an interesting thing because that means a lot of people who didn't own guns before are now buying them, and so there must be something out there that's telling them that it's time to maybe get familiar with the Second Amendment.
I can see that. I hope they get familiar with some training, and then they stick with it and have to go to the range and shoot weekly or as often as they can afford to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
My concern is people are going to get these guns and they're going to put it in the drawer with a box of ammo beside it. May not even load the revolver or load mags if it's a semi-auto. And they're going to put it in the drawer. I got my protection now. And
right.
Two things. They're not going to get training, so they're not going to know how to use the thing. And they're not going to vote to keep their rights.
Hopefully we'll get some percentage of those that will actually follow through and be more interested and productive in that instead of all of them just packing it away saying I got one and I'm not doing anything else with it.
I have kind of a comment on that. I worked at a couple of friends of mine's gun stores at the beginning of the surge and the things disappearing, and I spent a good deal of time basically directing traffic to keep COVID restrictions in place and having conversations with a lot of Democrats, and they're like, what do you mean I have to wait 10 days? And how much does it cost me to how can I avoid waiting 10 days? And I'm like, well, you don't have enough money to, fund a felony loss, time in jail for that. And I would say about half of the people I talked to were, oh, wow, I've been voting for those people? Maybe I had to change my voting habit. And the other half were like, oh, well, this is a small thing compared to whatever their issue was. And in California, I can say that overall, in this last election, we didn't see a huge bump from those. We did pick up a couple of good seats with pro-gun people, but we were probably going to pick those up anyway. And the trick is to get those people trained, get them understanding what they bought and what they need to do to keep it, because the people that are trying to get into office right now aren't inspired.
Well, and I think some of that, no matter how you can get them to realize that what the politicians have been doing to them. I mean, they keep pushing they need stronger, more gun laws, but yet they're not catching any criminals or anything with these stronger background checks or gun laws or anything. Locally, I mean, if they catch you in a background check and deny you, that's all they do. They don't come to check it out or ask you questions or anything. So it's like, why not follow that up, I would say.
That was a big deal with the, what was the project that Project Exile or something that they did in Virginia. They actually went out and prosecuted all those people that were illegally trying to buy guns. Because just the act of illegally trying to buy a gun is an illegal act. And,
yes.
and why we don't, come to California, put yourself get put in jail and released because of COVID. And now, stealing a gun isn't even a misdemeanor. It's a writable infraction. It's like a ticket.
Yeah, it's not even catch and release. They don't.
Yeah, they don't even catch.
Right. I want to. We've got some really good comments coming in on social media, and I want to get a couple of them up here and discuss them if we could, folks. Kevin Sona says, "How cool is this? Paul, Rob, Gina, and Dan are all camping this March." Kevin, I gotta correct you. If you include a room that has room service as for camping, then maybe yes. But no, I'm not sleeping my butt in a tent. No. And he also says golf courses should be closed and turned into long distance shooting ranges. And dude, I'm all for that.
I'm all for that. that camping is, I guess it's just if you're in spirit, you're going to be camping with them. That's all.
Yeah, I'll be camping with my Jack and Coke up in my room. You got it.
And Kevin, I don't mind camping. I don't mind at all camping, but my wife, she wants a hotel, so I'll be in a hotel too. But it's going to be fun. I'm sure we're going to have a blast, Kevin.
And I live in a place where there's no poison, snakes, or bugs, so I prefer to stay off the ground as much as possible.
I'm coming by air, and I'm sending camping supplies in advance, so I'm going to do it the hardcore way.
Gina, better you than me. Yeah, that's all I got to say there.
Who's the stud in this group? That's all.
Well, the best
and
part is
just a little shout out. Little shout out to Kevin. He's really working hard over there in Florida Carry. The guys over Florida Carry are fantastic. They're doing a great job. And as a matter of fact, Kevin, you'll be interested to know that I'm getting my Florida concealed carry right now. I'm in the process. So that was interesting. And I learned that the Florida, well, first of all, Utah, I just learned this. People might be interested in the Utah carry permit is not accepted right now anyway by Florida. Mm-hmm. And Kevin may want to look into that. But so I'm getting the Florida, and Florida opens up, I think, about 4 or 5 more states on the East Coast for me, this New Yorker over here. So Florida concealed carry is going to be very helpful for me.
Florida also opens up Washington State. Now, I've got the South Dakota enhanced permit, which it's already open. But before South Dakota got their enhanced permit, a Florida permit was a very good one to have so you could carry in Washington.
Yeah. I actually have a resident Texas permit, which gave me everything that Florida had, and plus Colorado, and so that was really nice. So I actually let my Florida one lapse, but maybe for Kevin I'll get it renewed.
Well, and the best part of us going in March, that means that'll be the beginning of summer for everybody.
Yes. Absolutely. It's only going to be in the upper 90s for highs. I'm thinking that's what the weatherman's going to say. With 140% humidity.
With 140%.
What's funny is it turns out I'm going to be there two different weekends, a week apart from each other, because CPAC is the last weekend in February, so I don't miss CPAC. So, and then I'm going to come back for the camping trip.
Well, before we take off and go and talk into other topics, I do want to again remind everybody, please keep those comments coming. We kind of went off on Kevin for a little bit, but yeah, keep those comments coming, and as they come in, if they're relevant, I'll put them on the air.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that we all recently heard that Remington had kind of been sued out of business, and they've busted it up and sold it off, and the PLCAA Act was designed to help cushion these gun companies from being sued out of business. Some of the stuff in the news recently are the little anti-gun groups are find little I guess they chinks in the armor, and they're going back and trying to sue in the cracks of this PLCAA, and that stands for the Protection and Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, and you can look that up on the internet if you have some questions about it. The little groups have found that they can kind of burn up some of the big companies' money by making them lawyer up in the meantime, and I'm wondering if that PLCAA needs to be reinforced a little bit to possibly cover that, or if there's a different way around that. Also, then too, because of the fact that we were covered under the they can't put any of the FFL or 4473 forms in electronic file, so they can't just punch your name in and find how many guns you bought, but they can go the backdoor way and find out like what stuff you're buying in the way of bullets, targets, reloading equipment, things like this, through your credit card company, through the different online stores and that. I think we need some type of that HIPAA law that they have for your health care that covers the gun community, just to keep honest people honest. What do you think?
Well, I think in the current political environment, you're never going to pass anything like that. I mean, it's like the Hearing Protection Act. Even though we held the presidency, we as pro-rights people held the presidency and the Senate and Congress couldn't get that past the cloture law, or the cloture. What is it? It's the
cloture rule in the Senate.
Cloture rule. Thank you. I'm just having a problem with my mouth and getting in sync there. And so that's why McConnell never brought it forward, because he knew it would never get through Schumer and people. So the biggest, the problem with the Lawful Commerce in Arms Act is that our courts aren't enforcing it, and the fact that due to the evil of the Sandy Hook thing, Remington people were allowed to sue Remington even though they were theoretically covered by the act that was in place. And so again, we have activist courts that aren't really enforcing the law, or they should have dismissed that case, because it's like, do you sue Ford every time there's an accident with a Ford? And I don't think you're going to be able to strengthen that law in any sense, other than getting court cases through conservative courts that uphold it.
Well, I know that locally, the last couple of years anyhow, it seems like they've been making noise about anti-gun things, but pro-gun things have actually been passing. So it's kind of funny. We notice the one side of it, but we don't really notice the other. I think is I don't know if we're kind of tuned in to one side more than the other. But here's another thing I was thinking about is these the shooting clubs of the old days. I think I mentioned some of this, like the Isaac Walton Leagues, some of the trap and skeet clubs and stuff. Is this something that we can bring back and get the families involved in, and get more people to go out to the range once ammo is available, apparently?
I'd like to comment on that. I think part of the anti-gun crowd's mission here is to make ammo so difficult to get and so expensive, and that's why you see all these little bits and pieces of these potential laws that they want to pass, limiting the amount of ammo you can purchase, and I think they recognize that we want to do that, Rob. We want families to be out there shooting and teaching their kids, And they understand that we want to do that. And I think what they're going to try to do is create some kind of an ammo drought. And by limiting the number, especially if Joe Biden is able to get his hands on some of this gun legislation, if they can limit the amount of ammo that we can purchase, we're going to be, really kind of careful about how much we use. We're not, it's going to turn into parents not taking their kids out. That's the idea. They want to stifle that activity, and ultimately they want to put the gun ranges right out of business, because if nobody's shooting at the range, the gun ranges are going to go out of business, and that means the next generation growing up is going to grow up as non-gun owners or even anti-gunners. So I think anything we can do to promote families getting out there and shooting for sport and practice, I think that's a great thing. And I know our friend Dan Roberts in South Carolina, he's doing they have courses in school. So they've got a whole bunch of schools now where they're actually teaching. It's not even teaching; it's sport shooting and skeet shooting and stuff like that. So it's kind of like we're fighting each other with that aspect. They're trying to shut it down, and we're trying to bring it back into the family, sphere, I guess.
We've got. I want to continue on this, but we've got some social media commentary that I really want to bring in here. And Kevin, man, it's always got to be about Kevin. Kevin says, if you're camping with us, you can open or conceal carry without a license. Charlie Chambers says, great lineup. As did
Charlie.
As did Kevin. And then M. Gabriel over on YouTube, this is one I really want to get to, says, you saw the impending pistol brace ban. Say that 10 times fast. I've seen that, and I've heard mutterings that there's going to be a press conference tomorrow morning. I really myself, we're going to be talking more about it here in a little bit, but I'm going to withhold any. I want to see what happens tomorrow before I comment on what happens tomorrow. Me, myself, and I about that. And then one more, Charlie, and I think we're going to be getting to this in a little bit. Charlie says, can you all talk about how you became Second Amendment pro-human rights activists? What sparked what sparked the fire for you? And I'm sure we'll be getting into that too. Last one, and we'll get back, and that is Kevin says, from my understanding, there's a primer shortage, and that's why we're having a huge ammo issue. Any of those that you guys want to discuss quick that just came through?
Well, that primer shortage and gunpowder shortage, we don't actually make that stuff here in the United States. Most of it's overseas and shipped in. When the corona shut down the shipping for a while, they said, well, that was going to create about a 3-month gap in the supply chain. At that point, everybody went scrambling to buy what they could, and so it's going to be a longer gap due to the fact that when you find something, you buy as much of it as you can. So everybody overbuys for a while. So I think that if it gets too bad, we will possibly start domestically manufacturing it here, but I think that in the long run it will catch back up. It's just I'm talking to some of the guys on YouTube, Facebook, and that, and they're saying that the UK and some of the other countries, Australia, they don't have shortages on ammo or supplies, but the price is double what it has been. So is it just that our new 250 or 2.5 million gun owners bought all the extra bullets that were on the shelf because you can't buy a new gun without buying bullets?
That could be part of it, but I also think with all the social unrest this past summer, I really think that a lot of the buying of ammo is just, I'm a little short on 45 ammo, or I'm a little short on 223. And once that dwindled down a little bit, once the supply of the 45 and the 223 dwindled down a little bit, and the 9mm, everybody's like, ooh, man, these shelves are kind of empty. I better stock up now. And that is just the fear breeds fear with the results of the election. That just adds on top of it. I honestly think it's going to be 2021 late, probably third quarter, before we see where you can go to reliably go to your local gun store and grab a couple boxes of 9mm, and they're going to have them in stock.
I think it's a combination of... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to comment on what you were talking about with the government trying to suppress ammo sales. And California is a great example of that, because we now have basically the gun registration system is now used for ammo. So if you buy ammo at a range to use at the range, you don't have to do a background check. But if you buy ammo to take home, you have to go through the same exact background check, except it is online. You don't have to wait 10 days. And there's a whole lot of false negatives on it too. But and just to talk about the ammo supply shortage. Indeed, there's like 4 manufacturers of primers in the world, and that do any high quantity, and they are backed up forever. I have friends in the ammo making business that were fortunate enough to buy months worth of stock before the crash and burned, and they're able to still make ammo, but they're just dying worrying what's going to happen in 5 months or so.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about ATF? Do we want to the question we had about the pistol brace ban? I know, Rob, you had a topic that you wanted to maybe tee off on that wasn't exactly about pistol braces.
Well, I was just thinking that the ATF, if you look at it, they have recently, no actual laws have been changed, just the way that they've interpreted them. So the bump stock, the 80% ghost guns, as they call them, that honey badger sig brace thing, all have been attacked by the ATF recently without any actual law changing, just someone rereading the wordage and changing an apostrophe or something. I think in the long run, though, like the sig brace, that in my area, there's so many of them out there, and it's so confusing as to what they're saying is legal versus. I think that the cat's out of the bag, and I don't think they're going to be able to control that. I think it's long, loose, and out of control, I think.
Yeah.
However, they did it with bump stock. So.
Yeah, they did. I don't think there were as many bump stocks out as there are pistol braces, though.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it was an administrative change. It wasn't a law change. It was purely an interpretive change, and I think we're going to see a lot of interpretive changes being driven by a Biden administration. They've been meeting with ATF. They've been trying to find out what they can do to bypass Congress, basically, with ATF. And so we need to figure out a way to combat that. And that's scarier. Administration people, in California we have the Department of Justice. They have absolutely no control on them. There's no civilian oversight. There's no, and our legislature has absolutely no desire to shut them down at all. So they're pretty much at free reign, and they have done a pretty good job of taking rights away as much as they can and slowing things down as much as they can. They did get the daylight suit out of them when they started taking longer than 10 days to get approvals back, and they hired some people and put some more people on overtime, so it's back down to 10 days.
Well, if I could...
I'm reading...
Go ahead, Dan.
I'm reading a little interesting piece here in Ammo Land. It says, let me find it again here. SB Tactical and other companies have been working with federal government to clarify the rules surrounding braces. Currently, the rules are very subjective, which means it depends on the reviewer that gets assigned the review to determine if the brace is legal. There's no set standard, it says. So that's scary to me.
Right.
Well,
one
yeah,
of the
because...
things
Go ahead, Rob.
well, one of the things I've seen is if your pistol had a set of rifle sights on it, that could be enough to tip it over the so as to what other kind of sight are they expecting. But if you put rifle sights on it, that was enough to make it illegal at that point.
So it's just simple fix. Put an optic on.
Yeah. State of California hates AR pistols completely, and people have, basically there's a guy in town that makes them single shot. We've got a company in town that's come out with basically a hand operated bolt system, which is actually pretty cool, except it's hand-operated bolt system instead of a semi-automatic gun. But that's how they're getting around a lot of those rules. And they're using pistol braces. So, last time I checked, if you put a pistol brace up to your shoulder, even the ATF at one point in time said that didn't change it if you just did it occasionally. So it's all administrative. It's all...
Right, it's like they say, who's looking at... just think that AR pistol with the bolt system back in the day when we were all shooting pistol silhouette and that would have been a pretty nice setup.
Yeah. They're pretty cool. It's kind of like the old Thompson, the XP100s and things like that.
Yeah.
You can put all sorts of trick things to hang onto your arm.
I was talking to a friend last week, and the topic of banning ARs came about, and basically my friend said, look, if it happens that an AR does get banned, I want to trick out a lever gun on an AR frame. And because lever guns, let's face it, are just almost as fast as semi-autos. And if you install, a good optic, if you there's a lot of things you can do with a lever gun that would make it just slightly less effective than an AR. And the only slight there is they're not quite as fast.
By taking the gas system off of the AR and putting a pump handle on it, you could turn one into a pump action and nothing flat also. And those are pretty fast also.
Yeah.
With a little practice.
Yeah. Yeah, and that would get around the assault weapon laws in California because it requires a semi-automatic.
I really like my quad rail and a foregrip, though. I mean, that's just me, though.
Yeah. Fortunately, I'm not a fan of foregrip because that immediately puts it into a feature.
Yeah. No, I've been looking at one of the foregrips. It's got a light built into it, and so you just squeeze the button on the foregrip, and the light and a laser light up, and I'm enamored with lasers anyway, so I just think that'd be super cool.
I just recently bought a red dot that has the squeeze pad so that turns it on, and because I'm famous for leaving the battery on and it's dead the next time I need it, so this squeeze pressure pad turning it off for me does a world of good for my battery budget.
There you go. Well, let's go ahead and let's go back to Charlie's comment. We'll go around the horn. I'm going to go ahead and bring the comment back up. He sent this a little bit ago, but he said, can you all talk about how you became Second Amendment pro-human rights activists? What sparked the fire for you? I guess I'll go ahead and start. For me, It was 9/11/2001. I grew up around guns. I did just about everything. My earliest gift I remember from my parents was an air rifle, and I had a air handgun. It was single shot, but it was still cool. I've been around guns all my life. When I came to be an adult, I really didn't have a huge use for them until we were attacked. And when we were attacked on 9/11, I thought it was going to go national. We were going to have enemies coming all throughout the country. And at that point, I realized, I probably should be arming up. And then I realized how hard it was to buy a gun and what the loops you had to jump through. And I bought this thing. What the hell do you mean I can't carry it in Minnesota? What do you mean I've got to have a permit to concealed carry it in my home state of South Dakota? That's all wrong. That's what got me into being a Second Amendment advocate. Rob, you've been around guns all your life. What triggered you into becoming an activist?
I've been around guns since 1960 when I got here. I got guns for Christmas and birthdays ever since we started getting Christmas and birthdays. In about 2002, actually, me and my sister Amanda, we had a gun shop, and we were looking at some. Ohio was getting concealed carry, and we started to look at going on to on the local radio station to do some advocacy, trying to get the concealed carry law to pass in Ohio. And so that kind of got us started into it. Probably about 2004, we actually got our own radio show, and we've been doing it ever since, and just no stopping us.
All right. Let's go ahead and circle around to you, Dan. What brought you into activism?
Well, mine's kind of an interesting story. I've been on both sides of the fence. I grew up. My father took me hunting and target shooting and stuff, so I was familiar with guns and went. We had a lot of fun. It was a great time for me as a kid. Going down to the field and shooting tin cans and stuff. So I was familiar. I wasn't scared of guns at all. But what happened is I started at a certain point in my life started hanging around with I always say I was hanging around with the wrong crowd. And it wasn't drug dealers or thieves or anything like that. It was anti-gun liberals. And so I started to get that anti-gun messaging all the time. And I started to actually kind of denounce guns. I went anti-gun for a while in my life, which is really strange because I had experience when I was a kid, and I knew guns were safe if you used them properly. So it was one of those times in my life when I had a conflicting thought process. On one hand, I knew guns were safe and had a lot of fun with my dad. On the other hand, I'm hanging out with these people who hated guns, so I started to take on that mentality. They say we are our environment. So later on, fast forward, my wife and I are coming out of a late night movie theater one night, and we had a run-in with this guy, and luckily everything ended. I tell the story in Good Gun Bad Guy, the whole detailed story, but the short version is that we ended up back at the car unharmed, but it was just enough for me to understand that I'd been thinking about guns all wrong, and I knew that I had a responsibility to protect myself, my wife, my son, and the good people around me. And that night I told my wife, I said I was sorry. And she said, why are you apologizing to me? You didn't do anything. I said, well, I don't know that I would have been able to protect you tonight if things had gotten worse. I said, I'm getting a gun. And from that point on, you ever have these moments of clarity in your life when everything completely changes from that point forward. And it was that night. And then so I started looking into holsters and concealed carry and safes and went through the whole process. And But during the process, I wrote an article called Fear of Guns, and you can still find that online. It got picked up by a bunch of websites, and it turned into the first chapter of the Good Gun, Bad Guy book, the first book. And then it just steamrolled. It was research, and it was trying to understand how I'd been able to be convinced to be anti-gun, how the propaganda works, how the anti-gun mindset works. And the first book just kind of wrote itself, and then the second book came along where I started talking about media, the media's influence in the whole anti-gun process, and then talking about the politics behind it in the third book. So it all happened very organically, very naturally, but I have been on both sides of the conversation, and proud to say that I am a full-fledged pro-gun advocate, and can't believe and embarrassed that I ever was, anti-gun for that short time in my life.
All right, Gina, you're up. What turned you into a Second Amendment activist?
Well, I've got you all by age, so I've been longer than anybody. But the thing that got me into shooting was, first of all, my parents were not gun people. My dad grew up in San Diego, and he shot some rabbits and stuff like that and he had a 22, and he always promised me, when you turn 14, I'm going to get you a 22. And he actually had it, but left it in the house up in Sacramento, because my mom was very anti-gun, and but not fanatical. Just I found out later that they had the biggest argument of their marriage over whether or not I would be allowed to be on the rifle team in high school. And yes, I was on a rifle team in high school in San Diego County, where we had a range on campus in San Diego. So that kind of got me started into the guns. That and scout camp, and I shot when I was 11 years old, and I was, ooh, this is kind of cool. And then I had this weird skill of being able to shoot clay pigeons out of the air with a rifle, so it just kind of snowballed into the competitive thing. And then I got in high school, I got very involved in politics, worked on the presidential campaigns and things. And I started noticing about that time, that was in the early 70s, that there was a pretty significant effort from, after 1968 to limit the rights of gun owners. And even as a 17-year-old I turned 18 in 1972, I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. So I started actually working a little bit. I joined the NRA. I joined the NRA originally because of the competitive. They kept track of all the competitive scores, and I was very, very involved in competition. But then I started reading the magazines, and I started, just being involved. And I kind of just existed at continually being a pain in the side of anti-gunners for about pretty close to 30 years. And then I got re-involved. I did the family thing and did everything else. And then as part of when I transitioned, when I became part of the LGBT community, the local gentleman that was representing, he was working for the NRA at the time, said, hey, there's this organization called Log Cabin Republicans, and you'd be uniquely suited to be my advisor, my interface with this group of LGBT Republicans. And so, as they say, the rest is history. I've now completely immersed myself in politics and in 2A advocacy to the point that I actually retired a year early or so I could do that advocacy more of a full-time thing. And it's the two things that I say are the most remarkable is all the absolutely amazing, wonderful people that I've met in 2A advocacy, and the fact that we as the gun community can eat our own pretty well too. So
yeah, we can.
And trying to do everything I can to make that not happen anymore.
Yeah, when we had Gun Rights Policy Conference this year, and for those who may be watching that aren't familiar, Gun Rights Policy Conference, normally we all meet in person in one city or another throughout the country once a year, and there's a bunch of speakers and a whole lot of networking, which is super cool. Well, this year, that all went online only. I was asked to speak, and the video I did was all about, okay, we're all activists, we're all in this to promote gun rights. Let's please stop eating our own and having arguments over silly stuff and just try to move the conversation forward and try to advance gun rights for everybody and not worry about the small stuff.
It's kind of funny because even today you'll see somebody post a picture on Facebook or something, and everybody starts tearing them apart because their finger's in the wrong spot, or even the person behind them, you can tell it's behind them, but the gun is pointing in that direction, but maybe 3-4 foot in front of it, and everybody is like, oh well, that looks unsafe, and it's a picture, and apparently if you were there you would have seen that everything was probably pretty safe at that point. But we are notorious for we don't really need anti-gun enemies. We have our own friends to tear us apart. And also, listening to you guys is how you got started in advocacy stuff. I realized that I had cut myself short. I mean, when I was a kid, my dad was a gun collector, and we would go to the gun shows for the whole weekend. Mm-hmm. So from the time I was probably 6-7 years old, I had friends at the gun show. So I would go and sit at this guy's table and sit at that guy's table, and I got to meet a lot of really interesting people. I got to hear about the 68 Gun Control Act and different things, and see some very, very interesting collectible guns through the years. And I mean, some of my friends collect like Colt Rainmakers. A lot of people don't even know that they made them, let alone that people had enough of them that they could collect them. And it was a very different time for me. And I think back at all the old guys that I knew, and it's sometimes it's sad, but how much stuff they spent their whole life collecting and learning and documenting this stuff, and most of it is long gone. It went when they went, and you see once in a blue moon, like the Blue Book or something, will give someone credit for the records that they turned into them or something. I hope that if you're spending your time collecting and doing that the family does pass it on, and we get to keep it.
I was just thinking as you were saying that, people who 2, 3, 4 years ago were collectors and maybe even hoarders of firearms, I think they just got their retirement accounts filled, because the prices, not just for ammo, but the prices for handguns and shotguns specifically have gone through the roof. You can buy you can sell if you've got a used Glock 17 and you bought it for $500 2 years ago, you can get $650, $700 for it in heavily used condition right now.
You get 1,000 in California.
Yeah. Yeah.
Location, huh?
We get a couple more social media commentaries in here. Charlie Chambers says the ammo supply chain is going through a bullwhip effect. It'll take well over a year to recover if Trump stays in office. And John Petrolino is just chiming in from YouTube saying, hello, panel. Well, hey, John.
Hey, John.
We need to get him on one of these times so he can plug his book. He's got a great book. So
if you can't get primers, you can all go back to flintlocks. I don't think California has a problem with those, do they?
Well,
let's just say I'm feeling.
Go ahead,
feeling
Gina.
particularly brilliant that I stocked up at the beginning of the Obama administration on every primer I could get my hands on. So I've become very popular.
Well, being somebody that smokes cigarettes, that really doesn't mix well with reloading. There's sometimes very tragic accidents, and I like my eyebrows, So I don't reload, but I got to say, Susan and I did and have continued to stock up on ammunition because we both train a lot, and we've continued buying a little more than we need. So it's more expensive to stock up now, but if I were, and I'm not going to, if I were to get rid of everything we had in ammo right now, I don't think I'd have to work for several months.
Well, so I used to buy guns that you couldn't. I used to buy guns you couldn't get bullets for just to make the bullets. That was entertained me. It was much more fun than shooting the gun, actually. And so I have a lot of bizarre equipment for making bullets and stuff like this. But it's still, primers are pretty hard to make yourself. That's the big thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it is kind of an esoteric chemical market, let me put it that way.
Cap and ball revolver with the firecracker fuses through the flash holes, maybe.
A little bit of
flintlock are an appropriate approach.
A little bit of inside baseball for those that are watching who may not, and you should if you're not. Shame on you. If you're not watching Eye on the Target radio, if you only listen on the radio or if you only catch them on podcast, you really should try to watch the live podcast, the live broadcast on Sunday. And where that's going, about 3 weeks, because I'm the video producer.
This is like our second or third week, isn't it, that we've been on the TV now?
Yeah, I think third or fourth actually. But
I'm a big TV star.
The very first time we did it, there was they would say something, and because of the way the network was sending me their audio, they would say it. You could see them say it, and 7.73 seconds later, I would get the audio, and that's just too big of a gap for my software to make up. So that first one, I think I actually burned after I took it down off everywhere after we did it. But Rob, one of the fun things we've been doing is I will put an unusual lower third under Rob. It'll be Rob Campbell and then something to the effect of Olympic napping champion or the real 007 or something like that. But for one of them, I thought, I'm just going to research an odd rifle caliber, and I'm going to put it under there, shoots. I don't even remember what it was. But
it was a 318 Accelerated Express.
There you go. And so I put that under and figuring I'd trip him up or at least get a giggle, and he's going, "Oh man, this is what's cool about that caliber," and did a whole report on that caliber. I'm like, okay, I'm out. I'm done. Rob wins today.
That's the great thing about this Second Amendment community is there's so much to learn because there's so many different aspects. Everyone has their own kind of corner, their own kind of specialty thing that they're really familiar with. But of course, then there's people like Rob who just know everything. But
well, that's what's nice about that GRPC is when you go there, you get a chance to exchange cards and meet people, and this way you don't have to know everything. You just have to know who does know what you need to know.
And there's so much to learn. I mean, because you learn from talking to different people in this community is fantastic because you learn so much about different aspects of Second Amendment. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a fantastic community, and as a technology nerd, it definitely whets all those technology nerve endings. So it's like I shoot black powder, I shoot black powder cartridge, I shoot ARs, 3-gun, just pretty much if it makes noise when you pull the trigger, I'm interested in it. And I can find people in every one of those sports that knows way more than I do that wants to share all that information with me. And I still use the history of Skip Talbert, like 50 caliber god who unfortunately passed several years ago, but he would literally give you a gun and all the ammunition and tell you how to beat him, so he had to work harder to win. That's just an amazing philosophy, and it gets through the entire community so much, and it just kind of makes you wish the rest of the world was, even though we eat our own, we definitely take care of our own, and we tend to teach a lot of people about things. So.
Yes.
Well, I've been in several different communities, so to speak, in the real estate. I've been a real estate investor for a long time, and so I'm surrounded by real estate people. And then also I've been in the music industry for most of my life. And what I found is that the people in the firearms community are some of the most just respectful and nicest people that you could ever meet. So I don't understand the idea that we are these crazy, reckless, maniacs or something is the exact opposite of the truth. Some of the most respectful and responsible people that I've ever met, and just the nicest people too. It was really kind of refreshing to start talking to a lot of people in this industry, because it's unlike anything else that I've ever seen.
I agree. I absolutely agree. It's fundamentally amazing people. Of course, there's a jerk every now and then, but they are such a small portion compared to the rest. It's amazing.
Oh yeah.
It's Rob, of course.
Even not in guns specifically. When I first got into advocacy, I was working, but I was a truck driver, and so I was gone a lot. One of the things I really enjoyed, I discovered podcasts through listening to Tom Gresham, because he said he had a podcast. I thought, well, I better check this out. Through that, I discovered Cam Edwards. I discovered Black Man with a Gun. I've discovered a lot of great people that did this. And when I mentioned to them, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, oh, it's great. And they took me along and they showed me how to start doing radio podcasting. And then when I got into that, I've had Tom Gresham take me aside and say, look, this is what I think you could improve on. And these are people that are, Rob, your sister Amanda has given me creative criticism saying, this, I think you could do this better. Everybody here tries, and I'm not going to say everybody, but the vast majority of the people in our community tries to make everybody else as good as they can be.
I have to say, my sister Amanda, she looks at things so differently than everybody else does, and she's more than happy to give you a call and try to give you a leg up to get you moving. And it's
kick in the pants,
it's kind
to
of
get
amazing.
You moving. Yeah.
Sometimes that's all you need. Don't need a leg up, but just a kick in the pants is all it takes. And it's I mean, I think that's what keeps me going is I hem haw a lot, and she keeps the boots to me. So.
All right.
Hashtag, I wish I was cool as Amanda Sapacool.
There you go. There you go. We are at about 4 minutes left in a 1 hour broadcast. So I think it's time for us for somebody who might have caught us in the middle, doesn't know who these yahoos are, I'm going to go in the reverse order we started with. So, Gina, I'm going to start with you. Let's go around the horn again. Reintroduce yourself and let people know how to get in touch if they're interested in finding out more about what you do.
My name's Gina Roberts. I live in San Diego, California, so I live in the belly of the beast, and I've been doing Second Amendment advocacy most of my life. Easiest way to find me online is just type Gina Roberts into Facebook, and I'm usually the first or second person that pops up in that. And I'd love to talk to you, and I'll respond to anything I get. So look forward to hearing from anybody who'd like to.
All right. Dan, you're up next, man.
I'm Dan Wos. I'm the author of the Good Gun Bad Guy book series. It's at goodgunbadguy.net or goodgunbadguy.com. Also, host of goodgunbadguyradio.com and host of the Loaded Mic podcast, National Second Amendment advocate. And you can find me again at goodgunbadguy.net or goodgunbadguy.com.
All right. that is up to you then, Rob.
Okay, I'm Rob Campbell. With the Eye on the Target Radio. Me and my sister Amanda, we do a weekly national syndicated show. And you can find us at eyeonthetargetradio.com. And if you get a chance to tune in, we're on Sunday nights, 5 to 7 Eastern time. I don't know, about 2 o'clock Western, or on the Pacific. So, all right, I'm done.
Okay. All right. And that leaves me. I'm Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. I've got this little thing called the Polite Society Podcast. I own the Self-Defense Radio Network. I do the daily bullet, the weekly bullet for the SAF. They pay me if you are interested in gun rights and you want to know more. They pay me to be everywhere you want to look. So just look up Paul Lathrop anywhere, or if you look up Second Amendment Foundation, most of what you see coming from the Second Amendment Foundation comes from me. But I'm on Facebook. And as far as podcasts, we're everywhere you want to check your podcasts. So that's going to wrap it up for this hour. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Come join us next Wednesday night.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot.
See everybody.
Okay, and stop stream. My buttons aren't working. Just a second, guys.